Hello and welcome to my World Celebration deck profile of my Shiranui Psy-Frames, which I will be playing in round 2 of the YugiTuber Grand Championship Mokuba League. Now, I played this deck over my Infernoi deck because my Infernoi deck I can play in a zoo format, whereas this deck doesn't really handle the zoo format. It kind of gets screwed up by Trident too often, so I figured as long as people can't play Trident, I might as well play it while I can. So this is definitely going to be played in Mokuba League round 2, and this will be posted before that match. But before the match airs, but it won't be posted before the match occurs, just in case my opponent actually bothers to look up and see what I'm playing. So let's run through the deck and some thoughts and why I chose it. So it has a Psy-Frame engine, plays 2 drivers, because if you need to resolve 3 drivers, you are losing anyway. Play 1 multi-threader for Black Rosing, which I play 2, so that's fun. 3 Gammas, because it's the best Psy-Frame monster. 3 Delta. Negate spells. 3 Alpha. Alpha can search the multi-threader when you have the field spell out, and then nuke the board, and then you can discard it to prevent your monsters from dying. So that's why it's in there. I played 2 beta because I go second every single game, so opening beta isn't really useful, but having beta is kind of essential, so 2 seemed fine. I played a zombie engine, so there are 2 Spirit Masters. This is good for lots of things. I'll get into it as you see more cards. I played triple Mizuki since this zombie is not limited. Unfortunately, Necroface is. Necroface is a 1 in Worlds format, so I played 1 Necroface, 2 Spirit Masters, and one Necroface, 2 Spirit Masters, 3 Mizuki. Alright, then I played the best zombie, which is Shiranui Solitaire, who searches tuners and special summons zombies when he's banished. I played 2 Uni Zombies, which is a dead card if you don't have a level 4 in the graveyard already, level 4 zombie. So don't want to have more of him than you do of Solitaire. I also had the level 2 tuner, which allows you to make some pretty cool synchro plays when he's in the graveyard with this guy, with Solitaire. I played 1 Scapegoat, just a level 1 tuner I could search. I think I resolved his token effect once in the championship duel. Played 1 Jet Synchron because I like glow bulbs. I also play glow bulb because I love glow bulbs. So this is essentially a glow bulb by discarding a card. This is a glow-up bulb by banishing a Mizuki, and then glow bulb is glow bulb. I played more hand traps. I played 2 ogres, and I played 1 Max C. And while I do have a playset of Ash Blossoms, personally I just don't care for it as much. I just think ogre does more, and I don't know. A lot of people's cards that you would negate with Ash Blossom tend to sit on the field and then just trigger again next turn. So it's kind of a niche card. It depends on the format and what cards are actually worth negating. I'd have rather played Droll and Lockbird, which I had loaned to a friend for ARG Philly, where he, of course, scrubbed out. So Droll and Locks would have been good for True King Dinos, which was probably the best deck playable in this format, and I just elected not to play it. No particular reason, I just didn't feel like it. And then this is why this deck doesn't work with Trident. Curry Bandit is the new mill engine I've been using. But if you play against Trident, he just gets Tridented, so he never resolves, so he's kind of dead with Trident around, and Masterpiece at 1 isn't such a big deal, but yeah, dealing with this crap is just insane. But Curry Bandit will let you mill 5, and then if you can add a Twin Twist to your hand, you could actually discard and pop 2 back row all in your end phase. And then, because he leaves your field, you could still activate Psy-Frames to mess up your opponent. Played 1 Snow, because Snow is at 1 in this format, but getting Snow into the graveyard isn't that hard. It's a little harder because I'm not playing the Brilliant engine, but yeah. Spells, I played the 2 2 Psy-Frame circuits to do synchro summons. Again, that's not the goal of this deck, so you don't need more, and Alpha can search it, and Overload can search it, so if you need it, you get it. If you open it, that's great, and you don't want to open 2, so that's fine. 1 E-Telly, because you can summon all the Psy-Frame tuners. In addition to that, you can summon your Ghost Ogre, so you can get a level 1, 2, or 3 tuner on field with this. Ogre, if you summon, also puts pressure on your opponent not to activate any cards during your turn. 1 Feel Zone, because this card's a brick, and you don't resolve that many Psy-Frames, but this is another reason you can get away with only playing 2. So if you open this and you play a Psy-Frame, you could put it back, so you get to keep that thing going. And Zeta is really good in Worlds format, so playing extra Zetas and there's less Omegas because it's limited 1. 1 Foolish Burial Goods to get Overload in Graveyard. Overload's good on field, so you don't want to automatically put it in grave, so 1 seems fine. There's a lot of good zombies in this deck, so Foolish Burial is pretty good. I play 1 Grass because this is a 60-card deck, and then I play 2 Gold Sarcophagus in the main deck, and I play 1 in the side deck. And Gold Sarc I use to add Grass to my hand, which seems silly. The question might be, why wouldn't you just play Left Arm? And the reason is this deck doesn't do that much with its graveyard. It does enough to justify playing Grass, but it doesn't do enough to justify having no hand instantly. Whereas this, you can slowly add this to your hand. It becomes your opponent's job then to win before then, which it's hard to do through a bunch of hand traps. Additionally, you can use this to send your Shiranui Spirit Masters to the graveyard to pop Floodgates and other cards. So it has more than one use. Adding Necroface to your hand is pretty cool too. That's another option. Play 1 Burial, which is good for Mizukis and Snow and some other stuff. You can actually Gold Sarc Snow and then put it back in the graveyard, so that's another combo. Anything you want, you can put any monster in your graveyard that way, so you have extra Foolish in that sense if you draw this with a Gold Sarc. I play triple Desires, because with the exception of drawing into the Grass off of Desires, you might as well, because this is the Omega spam deck, even though there's only 1 Omega in this. If you get something banished face down, you can reuse it, so this is kind of like a plus, I don't know, this is more than a +2, I mean a +1 in this deck. Playing triple Twin Twister, because there's plenty of good cards you want to discard, and in Zoo format, you'd rather play MST or Cosmic Cyclone, because the cards you have to deal with immediately, and discarding cards becomes a neg. But in this format, every card kind of just sits there, so you can play much more. This is better for dealing with slower formats, where everyone's cards just sit on the field, or they have to play more than 1 card down at a time, and they don't like resolve instantly. Playing triple Overload, because it's Overload. Strikes at 2, playing 2 strikes. I'm playing Psy-Frame, so I can use these. And additionally, with Dinos being the best deck, based on this format, it felt like a good idea to have Mirror Forces in the deck. Every once in a while, you won't be able to play it, but that's not a big issue. And I play 1 Breakthrough Skill. I don't know, I just like Breakthrough Skill. I have no good excuse for Breakthrough Skill. Just that if you mill it with Grass, you could use it on something. Using it twice is nice. Here is my extra deck that I went with. I played 1 Chanbara, 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, 2 Zetas, because the idea was that you summon the first Zeta, take your opponent's special summon monster off the board, but not their extra deck monster, and then he comes back in your main zone, so playing more of him was useful, or at least theoretically. I don't think I've ever summoned 2. And normally when he dies, you just put him back in the extra and you summon the same one. 2 Black Rose, because I'm playing 2 of these, and mostly because of True Kings and Lithosygem, and I didn't really want to deal with losing my guys. So there's 2 of those, so I always have a Black Rose, and 2 of those, so I always have the option of Zeta, because losing the Zeta sucks. 1 Omega, because you can only play 1 Omega. So if he gets hit with Lithosygem, that really sucks, but there's just nothing you can do about it. If you draw into Burial, you can put him back in your grave and then put him back in your extra, so that's helpful. 1 Stardust Dragon. He's kind of like the second Omega. He came up in round 2, where I actually had to prevent myself from getting OTK'd by a cubic OTK deck, Crimson Nova OTK. So it kept Twin Twistering my traps, my Solemn Strikes and things, so I put this out so he couldn't actually Twin Twister them. And then he comes back in your main zone, so he's kind of like Omega. Decent option. 2 Scarlights, because this is a Red Dragon Archfiend deck. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but it is. And you don't want to lose this because it makes these 2 cards dead. Now this card's better than the other 2 Red Dragon Archfiends because it can negate a card. It's like Siegfried from DDDs, but it can target anything once per turn. When it inflicts damage, it summons a tuner, so getting your Uni Zombie from your graveyard is good, or your Ghost Ogre. Now this guy's actually a little better now that Link format's out, because he can tribute a monster to summon a Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. So you can actually tribute himself out of the extra deck zone, and then special summon himself or a different one back into a main zone. So you can clear your zones, and depending on the scenario, you might bring this back if you feel you need the defense, or you can bring himself back. Then you can make another extra deck monster afterwards, so that's pretty cool. And when he inflicts damage, he summons 2 tuners, one from grave and one from deck with the same level. So you can summon like an Uni Zombie or a Ghost Ogre from your graveyard, and then the other one from the deck, and apply some more pressure. Then you can tribute off one and do some other stuff. It's fun. He's a nice card for this format. For the Spectral Sword, I actually play the Doomkaiser Dragon, even though the better choice now, because before this was a good choice, because your opponent's Ash Blossoms are zombies, and you can return them to your field, but now that you can only make one extra deck monster, getting their Ash Blossom is completely irrelevant, because this guy's going to be hogging your extra deck space. I suppose if you wanted to actually play Link monsters, you could use this guy and take their Ash Blossom, summon your Spectral Sword back, and then make a Decode Talker or something, but I don't know, I wouldn't do that. I would actually rather play the Archfiend Skull, the Zombie Skull, because it can't be destroyed by... It says your zombies can't be destroyed by card effects, so he'll come out, and then so will the Spectral Sword, and then you can Synchro for Crystal Wing or something unimpeded, because you just can't be popped. So, like, this would be definitely in the deck if I were playing against Dridents and things of that nature, because they aren't going to get killed. And then I play... Since I lost all the instant fusion use without Norden, playing a Shogun Saga. Now, the problem with Doomkaiser is you can't Synchro Summon it, so... But this you can Synchro Summon, which is nice, and you can actually attack if you use Unizombie that turn. He can get pretty big. Additionally, when you do the first Spectral Sword play to summon the Doomkaiser and the Spectral Sword, and then make like a Crystal Wing, this and the Spectral Sword went up in the graveyard, and then next turn you can summon this if your zone clears. So it's pretty useful. And then there's a Crystal Wing, so that's the extra. Let's just go through the side, what was planned for, because this format's at least useful for thinking about what you're going to do after the ban list. So it was kind of fun to play. Side deck, I played one Soul Drain because I felt I should side something for dinosaurs. A friend of mine suggested I do, but I don't know what to side. I really can't make a Dweller because I can't really... Negating a dinosaur play turn 1 is silly in a deck where you can't actually progress with offensively, so they'll just summon Overraptor, not be able to do anything, and just punch Dweller in the face. So I figured if I drew this, it would matter. I don't even think I sided in for the True game I played, which I did win. Played one Lost Wind in the side, just thinking, I don't know, I figured special summon monsters having damage. If I had to deal like a Crystal Wing or something, this would deal with it more permanently. Also, I figured if Denglong was a thing in this, that I could negate... if it wound up in the graveyard when a Denglong or the Herald was summoned, I could put it back on the field. But I don't know, I'm not sure about that choice. Warning was if I was playing against somebody silly enough to play Drew Dracos, which I didn't. But Warning's just not as useful as Strike when it comes to effect negation, so I needed that more. So those are in the main, and this is in the side. This came in a few times. Third Gold Sark's here if I felt I needed to floodgate my opponent. My opponent was going to floodgate me, make my Spirit Masters a little more useful. Someone said I should either play all 3 or not bother at all, but I'm like, it's a slow deck. I'm not in a rush to get cards, so Gold Sark was just kind of a neat tech in the main, so third one is kind of like you just have something in your main that's just not useful, and this will make your deck a little faster. Prohibition was for, it stops everything, technically. Any card can be stopped, but you really play this when you have a card you want to make sure resolves and you don't want to deal with a specific hand trap. You just call that hand trap, so you put this down, say Ash Blossom, activate Grass. They can't do anything. Or you put this down and say Lancia or something. Anything you don't want to deal with, you can just play it against. It's mostly for Ash. Not so good against Maxi, you'll just play it. But you could force him to play it when you don't have any special summons, because like, oh, I better use it now, and then not do anything. I expected ABC to be a deck in this format, but nobody brought it to my locals for whatever reason, so I had 2 system downs in here, so they were dead. 2 Dark Holes in case of some sort of like stall stun deck thing, some sort of Fossil Dyna thing. I really like this card, Legacy of the Duelist. Same thing, if I was playing against one of those stall trap decks and I went first, these were going in, because it makes it so your opponent can only set 1 card per turn, or if they were playing Paleo or something. And then it makes it so all your monsters could be MSTs, and you can pick up hand traps. And since I play so many hand traps, there's a lot of good cards I can mill and just add back to my hand, which is pretty cool. I never sided this in because I went second every game. I would have only went first against a trap deck, and I didn't play any. Night Beams were in here. specifically for pillars, and I didn't really. I think it came up. I think I sided it in, but it never actually like happened. Like I managed to screw up my opponent's plays before he can do any dang long stuff. And then there were 2 Epsilons. These are supposed to combo with Night Beam. So if you're up against pillars, what you can do is if they set 2 traps, or if they play Dimensional Barrier or something, you Night Beam 1 card, and then if they try to like play around to prevent something from being destroyed, they'll waste another card just to resolve their Dimensional Barrier. So then you can Epsilon the Dimensional Barrier and get around that. So this is good for forcing them to waste an extra card, then negating it. So, because what sucks is no one activates traps against anybody when they have no monsters on field when they're playing Psy-Frames, unless, of course, it was forced by a Twin Twister. So this is sort of like a Twin Twister that has slightly more utility in this sense, and it would combo with the Epsilon a little better. So that was the deck. My matchups, round 1 I played against somebody playing DDD. He was in the store, and that was the only deck he could make legal quickly. I beat him 2-1. He had Strike and Maxi like all the time, so it was like slow and really annoying. But in game 2, I Gold Sarked into left arm, into grass, and ran him over. Match 2, I lost 2-1 to Cubics because I misread their spell card, the one that says double the attack of their monster and have the attack of mine. So he doubled his Crimson Nova and have my Crystal Wing. And I, for whatever reason, thought I put a cubic counter on him. So I thought my effect was negated. So when he attacked into me, I let it die, and I took the damage and lost. Whereas I should have gained the 6,000 attack he had, and then inflicted 15 to him. So that would have been cool. But I also had a Unizombie and a Omega on field. And if he would have played his spell card on Omega, Omega would have just left the field. Because I could have done that. I didn't because I had a circuit on field with a driver in hand, so I was going to pump him up and run him over. And I had a Unizombie in defense, so he couldn't kill me if I realized what happened, so I would have won that game. So I was a little disappointed. Round 3, I played True King Dinos, and in game 1, I think he thought my deck was a joke. He was playing a 40-card deck, and he kept opening Diagram, and his plays were crazy. In game 2, what happened? He activated Diagram turn 1, activated the pop Baby Ceratosaurus, add Lithosagem to hand, and at the resolution of the chain, Baby Ceratosaurus activated, and I gammed it, and then he had sided Gamma, so he gammed my Gamma, and then I had another Gamma, so I gammed his Gamma, and so it was Gamma, Baby Ceratosaurus, Gamma, Gamma, and then Gamma, Gamma. So that link left him with like no cards, and then I just slowly picked him off, because he couldn't make the plays he needed to play. Game 3, something similar happened. He opened Terraforming. He went Terraforming, Diagram, I played Delta. He Gammas my Delta, and then I Gamma his Gamma. So 2 games I wound up having no Psy-Frames playable in my deck on the first turn, just to stop my opponent from playing, and then I slowly proceeded to beat him that way. He had managed to do like the Yang Zing plays by the middle of the game, which was weird. So I had to like use Spectral Sword to banish Spirit Master, to pop the Herald and clear the field. So there's some cool plays happening in that game. And then I just got completely 2-0'd and slaughtered by Fluffles in round 4. And that was the end of my event for me. So Fluffles, they just had too many effects, and they can like chain link order them now because of the new rule change in the rulebook to avoid me negating anything. And he kept making all of his monsters like either he had sheep, so I couldn't like do anything when sheep attacked, and then his other guy he made undestructible by card effects, so I couldn't do anything. So it was really annoying playing as Fluffles, but he's good, so I mean he deserved the wins he got over me. But yeah, that was that. A couple of things. I had some cards I didn't play. I figured I'd mention at least one of the ideas. These were loaned out. All this Invoke stuff was loaned out, so where are we at? Okay, Ashes I didn't play. Leo would have been good for Masterpiece. I had the other beta, Thunder Kings, if there were search decks. I guess I could have put the Thunder Kings in for the Dino matchup, but then I have to go first, and I didn't choose to. More lost wins. Now, this is the thing I wanted to discuss, which I thought would be fun. Where is my Panzer Dragon? There it is. Alright, so originally I only had one Scarlight, I picked it up at the store beforehand, but I was going to pull one of the Zetas, one of the Scarlights, and one of the Black Roses for these. The thought being, if my opponent played Lithosygem and had the option to banish cards in my extra deck, if these were in there, they would choose them. Because if you choose this, you make the Brilliant Fusions, the Lazuli, or the Garnet dead in the deck. So that would dead 4 cards in your main deck. And if you're playing the Predaplant engine, and I'm playing a 60-card deck, so the odds of me playing a Predaplant engine are pretty high, they think of that as making another 4 cards dead. So this pulling this card makes 9 cards dead. So playing this as a bluff for Lithosygem was a decent turn 1 idea. Additionally, I didn't want to play one instant fusion target if I was gonna do that, because these work in my deck. They're not bad. They let you do stuff with Uni Zombie with this. You can make 8s, and with Uni Zombie with this, you can still make 8s. So there's some pretty neat applications of these cards. And the thought was, if I play 2 of them, it'll look like I'm using the Predaplant engine, because then if I don't need the Brilliant Fusion, I can get Instant Fusion. Whereas if I only played 1, it would imply that that I might only play 1 Instant Fusion just to search if I already have the Brilliant Fusion. Whereas I wanted to imply that I actually play 3 Instant Fusions, and to make these both targets for Lithosygem. That way my opponent would think they're making 3 cards dead here, and like 10 cards dead here, killing 13 cards in a 60-card deck. So this was like the idea for messing around with my opponent's thought process with Lithosygem. I mean, it didn't happen, because I wound up getting the Scarlight, and then I had my duplicates, and I wasn't so worried about losing things. But that was an idea. The other idea was to just switch the Panzer Dragon for the Decode Talker, which I never was going to go into. I don't need it, because I can play around that stuff. Some other cards I just thought about playing, I don't know. One Day of Peace, I figure I can't get OTK'd. Slowing the game down is decently beneficial for me. I never saw myself playing a third one, but just in case. Trap Stun I like against trap decks, but I don't know. I don't put in enough offense to justify it. Fighting with myself over Twin Twisters. Fighting with myself over dealing with trap decks that actually play Dark Bribes. So Doom. I've never actually tried these Doom Cows. I thought about playing Samurai Saga, because it's a level 6, so I could use it like the Doom Kaiser, exact same play. It has another relevant effect. It has a minor relevant effect that's not even worth talking about, but it's the other reason I wanted to play it is if my opponent Lithosygem my Stardust Charge Warrior, I actually don't have a level 6 that I can actually Synchro Summon, which is kind of important. So I wanted to place. I thought about playing this over Doom Kaiser, because you can't Synchro Summon Doom Kaiser because it requires a Plague Spreader, as with the Archfiend Skull or the Hades. All of those things require that. So that was the thought for putting this in, but I wound up not going with it. Ancient Fairy Dragon's pretty cool. You can get your field spell by killing their field spell, and you can drop your tuners out of your hand and make level 8 synchros. No one was really going into Decode Talker. I didn't expect them to, so these were there to steal their monsters. I don't know. I can't justify playing 3 drownings, but I didn't. Pot of Acquisitiveness I thought I would use to recycle my monsters if they got Lithosygems, or reload my deck with drivers if I felt like the need, but I don't know. This is a card that you can't guarantee is going to be even live, so I didn't want to play it. I don't know why these are here. Trap deck thought. I don't know. And I thought maybe they would target the Charge Warrior, so I brought an extra, but didn't go with it. So yeah, that's kind of wraps up everything. If you have any questions or any thoughts on this deck, please leave comments. And I'll see you next time. And if you like what you saw, you can find one of our latest uploads right here. Also, YouTube has recommended this video for you. Click here to make sure you subscribe to our channel to get updates as soon as they occur. See you next time.